What do you think? Before and after. You probably have some sheet pans that look like this lying around your kitchen, unless you're like my aunt who is crazy and can keep all her stuff in pristine condition. But if you want to get your pans looking like new again without going to the store to buy new ones, then I'm going to show you a little trick on how to get them that way. All you do is use stuff that you have already lying around the house, like white vinegar and baking soda, a sponge or two that can be a little abrasive, and good old elbow grease. First things first, you make a paste with baking soda and vinegar. I added a little too much vinegar, so just keep adding baking soda till you get that texture that you want. Now we're talking. Before you add this to your pan, be sure you've given it a good wash, which you probably have. So even though it looks like this, it is clean. Just gonna spread it out onto your sheet pan. Put more in the super gunky areas. The pans usually get like this when you roast a lot of vegetables and the natural juices and sugars kind of come into it and they just bake into the pan. Or if you cook, cookies or things that have sugar in them. I think I'm gonna leave this half of the pan undone so that we'll be able to see a difference. We're gonna let these two ingredients work their magic, and then we will come back in about 10 minutes with our elbow grease. What do you think? Before and after. I think I did pretty good. These little black marks are like scratches that won't go away. That's not dirt. This side of the pan is clean as a whistle. Would I do this to all my pans at home? Probably not, because it just doesn't bother me that much. But if it does bother you and you don't want to go out and spend more money on new ones, a little vinegar and baking soda is all you need. And now I need a new manicure.
హలో ఫ్రెండ్స్, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. వెల్కమ్ టు రమా స్వీట్ హోమ్. ఈరోజు నేను సిల్క్ అండ్ బ్రష్లు ఎట్లా క్లీన్ చేయాలి అని చూపించబోతున్నాను. ఇది మోస్ట్ రిక్వెస్టెడ్ అనమాట. చాలా రోజుల నుంచి కామెంట్స్ పెడుతూనే ఉన్నారు. ఐఎమ్ రియల్లీ సారీ, చాలా రోజులైంది కదా, అందుకనేసి ఇప్పుడు ఈ వీడియో చేస్తున్నాను అనమాట. చాలా అంటే చాలా సింపుల్గా క్లీన్ చేసుకోవచ్చు. ఇది సరిగా క్లీన్ చేసుకోకపోతే మనకి హెల్త్ ఇష్యూస్ అనేది కంపల్సరీ వస్తాయి అనమాట. ఎందుకంటే ఈ బ్రష్ కానీ, సిలికాన్ బ్రష్ కానీ, సిలికాన్ స్పాచులా కానీ రెగ్యులర్గా యూజ్ చేస్తూనే ఉంటాము. మనకి తెలియని జిడ్డు మట్టి అనేది కంపల్సరీ ఉంటుందన్నమాట. నార్మల్గా ఎప్పుడు యూజ్ చేసినా సరే క్లీన్ చేసి పెట్టేస్తుంటాం కదా, అట్లా కాకుండా ఇట్లా చిన్న చిన్న టిప్స్తో మనం క్లీన్ చేసుకున్నామంటే మనం కూడా హెల్తీగా కుకింగ్ అనేది చేసుకుంటాం, మనం హెల్తీగా ఉంటాము. ఈ వీడియో మీకు నచ్చినట్లయితే లైక్ చేయడం మర్చిపోవద్దు. ఇక్కడ నేను శాండ్విచ్ చేశాను అనమాట, అందుకనేసి ఇవి రెండు యూజ్ చేయాల్సి వచ్చింది. అట్లాగే నైఫ్ ప్లేట్ కూడా శాండ్విచ్ చేసిన తర్వాత ఎట్లా క్లీన్ చేస్తాము అంటే,
The area with newspaper is a good idea. It just saves you from having to do additional cleanup afterward. Looking inside the cavity of the oven, if you will, you'll see there's quite a bit of buildup in there, and some of it's loose and some of it is hardened on, which is why I'm using this scraper to do some cursory cleaning. I want to get off as much as I can so that I don't actually have to scrub and clean that mess up. So I'm just using a paper towel to do that, wiping it all out. Now I'm making up a solution, 4 parts baking soda, 1 part dish soap, 1 part water. I'll stir it up, and you want to have a nice thick paste, so you can fiddle around with the consistency. If you want it a little bit thinner, go for it. I'm just applying it by hand here. I'm sure there's a more eloquent way to do it, but I just felt like going crazy town. So here I am. I'm putting it on the sides, even on the door, but I have a feeling I'm going to do the door with Barkeeper's Friend. Now I'm removing that drawer and just using a handheld vacuum to get under, because seriously, who is pulling out their oven? And I found a giant spider web, so it was a good thing I did it. Now I'm using a paper towel to wipe out any of the debris, and then I'm giving it a good spray because obviously I can't put this in the sink. I'm using a soap-filled sponge just to give it a good scrub down. Then I'm going to use a wet microfiber cloth to rinse the interior of this drawer, and I can put it off to the side. Little pro tip here is to put a towel down so that your knees don't get sore. Now in that bowl, I've just got some water. I've waited 30 minutes, by the way, to do this. That product has sat for 30 minutes, and I'm just starting to scrub. Now you guys will notice I'm using my left hand only. My right shoulder, for those of you who don't know, I dislocated it a while ago, so I actually can't clean with that arm, and it is my dominant arm, so my cleaning chops are a little bit suffering right now, but bear with me. So I'm doing a mix of the scraper and the heavy-duty scrub pad, making sure to get the sides, the back, and of course the bottom as well. I'm gonna give this window a good cleaning, but again, I'm just gonna use Barkeeper's Friend because it needs that extra oomph. It took me between 5 and 10 minutes to scrub inside that oven. And again, I was using my non-dominant hand, so I didn't get the best result.
Lift right out. If it doesn't lift right out, you can take either a really thin rag or a paper towel and cover the tip of your flathead screwdriver and just gently push underneath. Mine came right out though, because I do this pretty frequently, so it's not stuck on there from years of use. Now that I have these few parts taken off, I like to generally clean in sections. So I'm going to clean all these parts and set them to the side before I take anything else off. I just am paranoid that I'm going to misplace one of the screws or something like that, so I like to keep all the parts together. Or if it's from two different sections, I definitely know that these two go up here and not anywhere else. So I'm going to clean these real quick. Once you have the inside of your plate clean, don't forget to clean the back. I don't know how, but it's still possible for various sticky things to get on the back side of the plate, even though it's not facing the mixer. So don't leave that part out. I'm beginning to think the back side of my bowl clamp plate is dirtier than the top side. Alrighty, that's clean. Let's do these two little guys. They're surprisingly not very dirty today. There's a little bit of some gunk stuck in one of the threads, so I'm just going to use this tiny screwdriver again to get that out. And it came right out. And that one's done. And now let's grab the 3 screws that are in here. For the most part, just soaking those screws, clean them up really well. That one screw that I had a hard time getting out is still kind of dirty, so I'm just going to use my little screwdriver again to clean that last bit of gunk out. Just to make sure that I keep track of these, I'm going to stick the 3 screws in the plate so they don't get lost. Alrighty, those 2 areas are cleaned up. So now I'm going to come up here to the top and take off the trim band and the trim ring. Now the trim band is this part right here. It has the little symbols for whether you're locked or not, and then over on this side it has the various speeds that you have. That is attached with 2 Phillips head screws, so I'm just going to rotate that and take those 2 screws out. Same thing as before, I'm going to drop those in the soapy water. Now, I have the screws out that actually attach the band, but I still have to remove this back casing because the band kind of goes in between the casing that houses the motor. I'm not doing anything with the motor, I'm just cleaning around it. Into the soapy water. For now, I'm just going to set this guy off to the side because what we're focusing on is this trim band. Now I know the first time I did this, mine was stuck on there so hard, so I kind of did the same trick I outlined before. I took a little Phillips head screwdriver, I covered it with something so I didn't scratch my mixer, and then I just kind of started prying it loose until it came off. So mine, like I said, I do this pretty often, so mine's just going to come right off. And then we're going to clean this. Now I'm wiping the band, but I'm being very careful not to bend it in any direction that it is not supposed to bend. I don't want to bend it out of shape so that it doesn't fit back on my mixer. Alrighty, that's cleaned up nicely. I'm going to set it over here with all my other clean stuff. Actually, just the light. Okay, so next we're going to go for the trim band ring. This one I find is always pretty hard to get off. We'll see how it goes today, simply because, well, for me, I don't know about you, when I'm mixing things, this is where most of the splash up and little puffs of powdered sugar and flour goes, so I find this area to be really, really sticky, which makes me want to take it off and clean it even more. And I'm just kind of gently going around the edge and pushing down with my screwdriver. I don't want to bend it. It's It's being really stubborn today. So I've kind of wedged my screwdriver in there, and I'm using my other screwdriver as a little hammer to get down in there, and ta-da, there it is. Okay. And I don't know if you can see, but it is disgusting in there. Absolutely nasty. I see powdered sugar, cocoa powder, probably vanilla, all types of gross things. So let's get this one cleaned up. Again, same thing with the band. I'm being pretty careful with this. It's not as fragile, but I still don't want to mess anything up. Much better. I'm adding this to my pile of clean parts. Remember this little case for the motor we set aside a little bit ago? I'm going to clean this one. It's not nearly as dirty as it usually is. I don't know why. Hey, I'm not complaining. Alrighty, this one's clean too. Now that's generally everything that I take off. Next, I'm going to disassemble the head from the stand so I can just get the inside of this thing cleaned, and then also be able to have a little better access to clean this part of the head. The pin that connects the two of them is right back here, so you have to remove that in order to disconnect the two. It can sometimes be a little tricky, so let's see how easy it comes off for me today. And what I've done before is, as you can see, my screwdrivers are drastically different sizes, so I'll kind of use the butt end of this one to get it started, and then I'm going to hammer a little bit with this one. We'll see. Alright, got it started. Now I'm just going to cover this up with a bit of my paper towel and just push it on through. Alrighty, so I've leaned the head back. I'm pushing it through. Before I actually pull the pin all the way out, I'm going to get a good hold on the head because I don't want it to fall. Okay, pin's out. Now I'm just going to remove the head and lay it down gently. And I'm going to give you guys a close-up of just how dirty this really is. All of this debris in here is exactly why we took that apart. Now that I have the two pieces detached, I'm going to clean my pin and then work on cleaning the stand. Pin's all clean. And this part's going to be much easier to clean now that it's detached. It's much lighter. This is actually the really heavy part because it's got the motor in it. Keep in mind though that when you're spraying all of this, this is empty, an empty cavity, so water or whatever cleaning solution you're using is going to go through there and onto your table. So if you are using a table that you truly care about or don't want it to get wet, I would just be a little mindful of that. Alrighty, this is clean, and actually I forget how soft it can be. But I'm going to flip it over and see if there's any junk up in there, and there is. So I'm just going to wipe out this upper area. You know how I was saying things fall down in here? Well, sugar, flour, all that jazz falls down in there. So I'm just going to wipe that out really quick as well. Also, while you're down here, it's a good time to wipe off the little rubber feet. Alrighty, I'm happy with that. So now